Namaha Ganapataye Namaha. In this video, I'm going to talk about perhaps the simplest way that you can change your life using the principles of quantum physics, principles of the yogic science, and in general, the principles of nature and life. So, to keep it really, really simple, there's so many different videos that can be created, so many teachings and techniques. But what's going to give you the best results, the guaranteed results, what's worked for me over and over and over again, and for many, many others as well, is mantra, turning your mind into mantra. So we don't have to complicate it too much. Certainly there are other practices, more advanced things, but the mantra practice is the most important thing. And if you understand the concept of what sound is, in the realm of quantum physics, you have string theory, which is when beyond particles, the fundamental building block to our reality is sound, the string sounds. In the yoga tradition, these sounds, these string sounds, are the mantras. And the yoga tradition, they have taken it much, much farther than quantum physics has yet, by systematically categorizing, documenting all the different string sounds or mantras that create different things and their permutation combinations and what happens when you combine them together. And also the archetypes, the personifications of those sounds when those sounds manifest through a human consciousness, for example. And these are the gods and goddesses, the deities, the angels, and so on. And these give you an idea of what these sounds in their pure form, their pure expression, are able to create. So by studying these archetypes and deities, and even by working with them, this is what the whole worship tradition is about. It's not arbitrary worship and come save me. The ultimate science of this worship stuff is to become that being, or to embody that being, and this starts as a sound wave. So they have this concept of mula mantra in the yoga tradition, which is mula means a foundational mantra. So the context is a mula mantra for a being means the fundamental sounds that make that being's consciousness. So, and also they have the bija mantras. These are the ones that I like personally. Why do I like bija mantras the best? Because bija mantras are very small and easy to use, and they're extremely potent, most powerful. Because a bija mantra, bija means seed. So a seed of a tree, while it's very small, it contains the entire potency, all the life force, and all the differentiating potential in that tiny seed. So by planting that seed, you get the tree. So instead of using these long hymns and mantras, you can use a bija mantra like Om, like Shreem or Brazi, or even breaking it down into syllables. Dr. Pillai has been doing research with Harvard and other prominent researchers in the world, and they have found that these syllables, he calls those phonemes or phonemic intelligence, are even more powerful. So, for example, Om, you can break that down farther. Om is comprised of Ah, U, Ma. So you can take and break out the sound Ah, or you can break out the sound U, or you can say Om as Ah, U, Ma. Now, I've been experimenting with this personally, using these phonemes and syllables and having tremendous, tremendous results. So use something that you can hold on to. So this is why I like the beaches or the phonemes, because they're very easy to hold on to. This is coming back to the goal, and this is the context of this video, is in the yoga tradition they say you have to turn your mind into mantra. Your mind, which is in a subtle level, is nothing but a permutation combination of subtle sounds that give birth to your mind, which is the information, and then later on the expression of that information as thoughts, as speech, and then actions. So by turning your mind into mantra, you are essentially tuning yourself to a certain sort of information. And this is where you become like the gods. When you're able to tune yourself completely to a mantra, you become that mantra and you become the expression of that mantra in its purest form. So take, for example, Om. The personification of Om is Ganesha. Now, if you know about Ganesha, if you don't know about Ganesha, I recommend watching one of my past videos about the Siddha secrets on Ganesha, about how Ganesha is the supreme personification of the divine, that he is behind everyone. Because why? Om. What do we know about Om? Om is the sum total of all consciousness, the sum total of all power, the sum total of all the deities. All these deities and archetypes, divine beings, are, while they are angels and all this, they are on a more different level, they are principles. So when you take all the divine principles, all the possible principles, all the potentiality, you merge, it all merges into Om. From Om came all the mantras. This is what they say in yoga tradition. So Om, or Ganesha, with the personification, shows you what you can do. So what do we know about Ganesha? Unlimited intelligence, supreme power, supreme wisdom, can create whatever he wants to create. He is in charge of all the deities, meaning he's in charge of all the divine principles. They're at his command, or he commands all of them. So you can go and learn about these. And another mantra I recommend is Shrim Brzi, or just Brzi. I highly recommend this mantra. It's a very practical mantra, practical sound that can be expressed in human consciousness as ultimate fulfillment. That is the wealth fulfillment, that is all the fulfillment that the material and spiritual has to offer. This is personified as a form of Lakshmi, Shrim Brzi, or just Brzi. And you can also break that out, and there are secrets of Shrim Brzi, such as the sh, the r, the e, the m, b, the br, and the z. These all have different meanings attached to them and all different potentialities that they're expressing. And when they're put together in these permutation combinations, it's almost like a recipe. When you're creating a, say, lasagna, you have the noodles, you have the tomato sauce, you have all these different things, and they combine together to create the lasagna. And like this, these different syllables are very, very powerful, and they are very, very powerful to create a certain effect. This is what the mantras do. They create an effect, and it starts at the cause. Now, the cause is these sounds. The sounds are the cause. The reality is an effect. Of course, there are different versions of the effect. You have subtle levels, you have the way you think, you have subtle levels, the way you speak, the way you act, you have what creates around you, your environment, the people that are in your life. None of these are coincidences or mistakes. These are simply a mirror of your internal information. We have the collective mind, that is the arena for which we exist in, and we have our individual mind, which is operating in this collective field. Our experience of this collective field is dependent upon our individual information. So one person could be sitting in Beverly Hills in a mansion with women all around him, all the cars, and all the money. That's his experience of the collective field. You have another person sitting in San Francisco on the streets, living on the streets. All they have to their name is a blanket, and they have to beg for food. They have a cardboard sign. That's their expression. That's their experience of the collective arena. And like this, it goes on and on with all the different variances. And this is where you get an interesting story of Mahabharata. You can look at the Mahabharata, these epics, these mythologies. They're not arbitrary either. Mahabharata is said to have an example of every kind of possible archetype that you could experience in this place, or very much many of them, a large collection of them. So you have the cheaters, you have the liars, you have the corrupt rulers, you have the righteous rulers, you have the good soldiers. You have all these different characters, and they give you show you a range of these potentialities. And you have expressions of the gods on the earth plane as human beings. And like this, studying mythology is very, very important, and very, very practical, useful, and also very enjoyable. Once you start getting into the esoteric and understanding how you're connecting these things to principles and not just arbitrary objects of worship, or just made up stories or isolated things. There's a common thread that's woven throughout all of these mantras, archetypes, the deities, the epics, human consciousness, quantum physics. It's all connected. This yogic science is actually a super science that is even beyond the quantum science. The quantum science is just scratching the surface of the yogic sciences. So anybody who wants to go do a deep dive, I suggest looking at both. Quantum science, quantum physics uses a different vernacular that makes all that stuff make more sense. But it's good to have an idea of that so you know what you're looking at, and that way you can understand it and apply it. So to circle back around, the context, or the main import of this video, to keep it simple, is select a mantra. I recommend a phoneme or a bija mantra, or bija mantras, Shrim Brzi, Om, the sound Ah is a good one as well. Ram, Rama. Very, very, very powerful sounds. Select one that you're called to. Maybe you have a different sound. You have the name of God, you can use Muruga, or you can use Vishnu, Krishna, Buddha, whatever name that you're called to use, and looking at that deity and archetype and being careful as what do they represent? Because I've seen people doing this, a lot of Buddha stuff, and it's fine. There's no right or wrong, but you have to understand what you're doing. The Buddhist path is a path of non-existence. If you're wanting to exist in this world and wealth, money, good sustenance, the path of the Buddha is not for you. This is for a path people who are looking to completely dissolve into nothingness. No clothes, sleeping on the floor. Look at the Buddha archetype, and that gives you an idea of what that represents. So be very, very careful what the deity you select, and go from there. So if you have any questions, of course, please leave them in the comments below this video. As always, wishing you happy manifesting, and God bless. And also, if you want to be coached by me one-on-one for manifestation, or in general, if you like to focus on something particular, I have a lot to offer, and I'd be happy to do that for you. Leave a comment below with the words discovery call, and we can set up a free consultation call where we can get to know one another. God bless.